Okay, so get ready to dive into something a little different today. We're exploring the world of yoga, but not in the way you might expect. Think less downward dog, more like eloquent discussion.
What's interesting here is we're actually going to be equipping you with the English vocabulary and phrases you need to confidently navigate the language of yoga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to admit, when this deep dive request came in, I was a bit surprised, but then I realized it's totally up our alley.
Yeah.
Giving you practical knowledge you can actually use, especially if you're planning a retreat, taking a class in English, or just want to impress your yoga buddies with your fluency. And get this, our source material is a podcast script specifically designed for English language learners who want to talk about yoga meta.
Right. It is quite meta. It's like we're getting a double dose of learning. And speaking of learning, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the yogi on the mat. Why is learning to talk about yoga in English so important?
Right. It's not like everyone at your local studio is suddenly going to demand Sanskrit fluency.
True. But as the source material points out, yoga has become a truly global phenomenon. English often acts as a bridge for yogis from different backgrounds to connect and share their experiences. Imagine attending an international yoga retreat, or even just chatting with the person next to you in class. Knowing the right English vocabulary and phrases can really enhance those interactions.
I can definitely see that. Plus, the source material mentions some other benefits, like being able to participate more fully in English language classes, engaging in cultural exchange through yoga, and even being able to advocate for your personal well-being.
Exactly. It's about so much more than just knowing the names of poses. It's about access, connection, and empowerment. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Where do we even begin with this whole yoga English thing?
Well, lucky for us, the source material provides a great starting point, key vocabulary. I'm all ears. Hit me with those terms. That'll make me sound like a yoga pro.
All right, challenge accepted. First up, we have asana, which simply means a yoga pose or posture. So when you hear someone say downward facing dog is my favorite asana, they're talking about a specific pose.
Asana, got it. What else is there? I'm ready to expand my yoga lexicon.
Next, we have pranayama, which are breathing techniques used in yoga. It's all about controlling the breath, which is a fundamental aspect of the practice, but it's not just breath control. Is it the source material hints at a deeper meaning?
You're right. There's got to be more to it than just inhaling and exhaling.
Exactly. Prana actually translates to life force. Pranayama is about regulating the flow of this life force energy throughout your body. Pretty cool, huh?
That is pretty cool. It's like yoga is this intricate dance between physical postures and this invisible energy.
Precisely. And speaking of things that sound mystical, we can't forget namaste. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's just a fancy hello or goodbye in yoga class. But it goes way deeper than that.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Spill the tea.
Namaste is actually a recognition of the divine light within each of us.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way of acknowledging the interconnectedness of all beings.
Wow, I had no idea. See, this is why I love these deep dives. You think, something, and then bam, your mind is blown. Okay, so we've got Asasana Pranayama and Namaste. What other essential yoga terms should we have in our back pocket?
Well, there's vinyasa, which refers to a sequence of poses that flow together, often synchronized with the breath. Think of that dynamic flowing style of yoga that's become so popular. It can be quite challenging depending on the level, but also incredibly rewarding.
I've definitely heard of vinyasa classes.
Yeah.
I'm all about a good challenge as long as there's a reward at the end. Speaking of which, what about that blissful relaxation pose we all crave after a tough class? The one where you just lie there and melt into the floor.
You're talking about Savasana, the ultimate surrender. It's typically practiced at the end of a yoga session, and it's all about letting go of tension and completely relaxing. It's like hitting the reset button for your body and mind.
Sounds like my kind of pose. Okay, so we've got poses, breathing techniques, greetings. But what about those mysterious energy centers I've heard whispers about, the chakras?
Good catch. You can't talk about yoga without mentioning chakras. The word chakra literally means wheel or disc in yoga. It refers to the 7 main energy centers located along the spine, each associated with different aspects of our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being.
So they're like energy hubs that keep everything flowing smoothly. I'm starting to get a sense of how all these terms fit together to paint a holistic picture of what yoga is all about.
Exactly. And remember, we're just scratching the surface here. Yoga is a vast and intricate practice with a rich history and philosophy. And of course, there's meditation, which is another key aspect of yoga, focused on achieving relaxation and mental clarity. But we'll dive into those a bit later.
Okay, so we've got our basic yoga glossary down, but how do we actually use all this fancy terminology? I'm not going to walk around saying namaste to everyone I meet, am I?
Well, maybe you should, just kidding. But you're right, it's all about context. That's where the phrases and expressions come in. And luckily, our source material has provided us with a whole toolbox of conversational yoga gems.
Ooh, a toolbox of yoga gems. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Let's crack that toolbox open.
So this conversational yoga gems toolbox, the source material actually breaks these phrases down into handy categories. We've got phrases for describing your practice, sharing your experiences, asking for advice, and discussing the benefits of yoga. It's like a choose your own adventure for yoga conversation.
Okay, I'm digging this organized approach, but can you give me some concrete examples? I need to hear these gems in action.
Absolutely. Let's say you're describing your yoga practice. You could say something like, I try to fit in a yoga session 3 times a week, or I'm currently working on improving my balance in tree pose.
Those are pretty straightforward, but what if I want to spice things up a bit? Share something a little more personal, you know?
Well, for sharing experiences, you could say yoga really helps me feel more grounded and centered, or I've noticed that practicing pranayama has significantly improved my breathing. See, you're sharing your own insights and how yoga has impacted you personally.
Okay, I see the difference. It's not just about stating facts. It's about expressing how yoga makes you feel. That's way more engaging. What about if I'm the one seeking wisdom? Like if I'm struggling with a certain pose and need some guidance?
The source material has got you covered. You could ask something like, do you have any tips for finally nailing crow pose? Or what style of yoga do you find most beneficial? And if you're on the hunt for a new class you could try, can you recommend a good yoga studio in this area?
Ooh, that last one is gold. I'm always looking for new studios to explore, but what about when we want to get a little deeper? How can we talk about the benefits of yoga in a way that feels authentic and, dare I say, profound?
The source material suggests using phrases like, yoga has been a game changer for my stress levels, or since I started practicing yoga, I feel so much more connected to my body. You're highlighting the positive impact it has had on your life in a personal and relatable way.
I love how this is all coming together. We're going way beyond just memorizing vocabulary words. We're learning how to weave them into meaningful conversations about yoga in English. Okay, let's put this into practice. Imagine we're at a yoga studio and we've just finished a challenging but amazing vinyasa flow class.
All right, let's do it. I'm feeling zen and ready to chat.
Phew, that vinyasa flow was intense. I feel like I worked every muscle in my body.
I know, right? It was definitely a challenge, but I loved how fluid and dynamic the sequence was, and Savasana felt especially glorious after all that effort.
Tell me about it. I could have stayed in Savasana for another hour. You know, I've been trying to improve my flexibility, especially in my hamstrings. Do you have any advice?
Have you tried incorporating more forward folds into your practice poses, like standing forward bend and seated forward bend can really help lengthen those hamstrings over time?
That's a good idea. I'll definitely focus on those.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've noticed that yoga has not only made my body more flexible, but also my mind. It's like it's helped me become more adaptable and go with the flow, both on and off the mat.
That's a fascinating observation. It really speaks to that mind-body connection that's at the heart of yoga. It's not just about physical postures. It's about cultivating a more flexible and resilient mindset as well.
Exactly. It's like a moving meditation for me. It helps me quiet the mental chatter and just be present in the moment.
That's a beautiful way to describe it. And that actually brings us to another point. The source material emphasizes the power of descriptive language and analogies when talking about yoga.
Oh, I'm all about those analogies. Tell me more.
Well, just like you did, comparing yoga to a moving meditation instantly paints a vivid picture for the listener. It helps them understand what yoga means to you on a deeper, more personal level.
It's like finding those words that truly capture the essence of the experience, because sometimes yoga is good just doesn't cut it.
You're absolutely right. The source material really encourages us to be honest, descriptive, and to share our own experiences. It's those personal touches that make our conversations about yoga so much more engaging and relatable.
So we've got the lingo down, we've practiced some phrases, and we're all about embracing descriptive language. Is there anything else we should keep in mind when talking about yoga in English? I want to make sure I'm avoiding any major faux pas.
Well, the source material does highlight a few common mistakes to avoid, and this is where it gets really interesting for me because, you know, I can be a bit of a word nerd sometimes. I'm always fascinated by how we can use language more effectively.
Well, I'm totally guilty of that. Sometimes I just want to show off all the cool new words I've learned, but
Yeah.
I guess that defeats the purpose of communication, right?
Exactly. Especially if you're still learning English, it's best to keep things simple and straightforward. Clear communication is key.
So simplicity over complexity. Got it. What other linguistic yoga faux pas should we be aware of?
Another common mistake is being too vague. Instead of saying something generic like yoga is good, try to be more specific. Say something like yoga helps me feel more calm and focused. Or I've noticed that yoga has improved my sleep quality. See the difference?
Ah, yes, the power of specificity. It's those details that make our conversations more interesting and relatable. Any other pitfalls we should watch out for?
The source material also cautions against ignoring cultural differences. Yoga is a practice with a rich and diverse history, and different cultures may have different interpretations or approaches. It's important to be respectful of those differences and avoid making assumptions.
That's a great reminder. Yoga is a global practice, and we should celebrate that diversity rather than trying to fit everything into one box. So we've covered a lot of ground today: essential vocabulary, conversational phrases, common mistakes, and even cultural sensitivity. I feel like I've leveled up my yoga English game, but what does this all mean for our listener who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information?
That's a great question. If we zoom out and looked at the bigger picture, it's about empowering our listener to confidently navigate the world of yoga using English, whether they're attending classes, traveling to a retreat, or simply chatting with fellow yogis online. They now have the tools to express themselves and connect with others through this beautiful practice.
You know, it strikes me that this deep dive hasn't just been about learning English for yoga. It's been about the transformative power of language itself.
That's a profound insight. Language is how we make sense of the world, how we connect with others, and how we express our unique perspectives. And when we learn a new language or even new ways of using our own language, we open ourselves up to a whole new world of possibilities.
I couldn't agree more. It's like yoga for the mind. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you'd like our listener to remember?
I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace the learning process. Stay curious and keep practicing. The more you use these words and phrases, the more natural and effortless they will become.
Great advice. Maybe our listener can try using one new word or phrase in their next yoga class or conversation. Just see how it feels. They might be surprised by how it sparks a whole new level of connection and understanding.
And above all, remember to stay curious and open to new perspectives. The world of yoga, like the world of language, is vast and constantly evolving. Embrace the journey and enjoy the transformative power of both.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we leave you with this final thought to ponder. We've talked about the physical and mental benefits of yoga, but what about its social impact? How does yoga bring people together, foster community, and even inspire positive change in the world? Something to think about as you continue your own yoga journey, both on and off the mat.
Namaste.